In this video, we break down the virtuous cycle for XRP, why the Clarity Act will be the unlock that starts that flywheel in motion, and why it won't be a linear price increase for XRP. It's going to be an exponential, parabolic, flying past all-time high into new price discovery moment for XRP. Let's break it down for you in today's update. So we're going to get started here with comments from Christopher Giancarlo, talking about how the banks always fight innovation and eventually they give in and adopt it, but they always have to put up the fight. Let's get the rundown right here. And this is going to explain why we still need the Clarity Act. Yes, XRP is not a security, but getting Clarity Act and clarity for the banks and the institutions that are holding out for now, this starts the flywheel. This is the big US market unlock. Christopher Giancarlo with the breakdown.
We do need the Clarity Act passed. But, the funny thing about innovators, they'll innovate, even without clarity, right? They've innovated for the last 4 years. They're going to continue to innovate. Clarity is really needed for the laggards, for the scaredy cats. It's not Standard Chartered doesn't need the Clarity Act. It's that, the first Bank of Des Moines that is sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't know if we can do this."
But they're the ones fighting. They're the ones fighting it right now.
Well, the American banks have fought every innovation that's come over the pike for the last 50 years. Whether it was branch banking, whether it was ATMs, whether it was chips in credit cards, the American banking system have used their strong lobby in Washington to try to stop every innovation. And then within 5 years, once that innovation took off abroad, and customers came back from Europe saying, "I just used a chip reader in my credit card. Why am I swiping my card?" The American banking system said, "Okay, we'll get on board with that innovation." But they fought it first, and they're doing the same thing again. But this time, I'm hoping they're not going to prevail.
Oh, they won't, because they're getting all their ducks in a row to make sure that they can maximize their profits, can hold on to their deposits, right? They won on idle yield on stablecoins. That's not going to be a part of the Clarity Act, or at least that's going to be a part of the Clarity Act that stops us from earning idle stablecoins getting any sort of yield. So the banks already won on a few, doing what they do best. They put up a strong resistance, a big lobby in DC. But was the goal to just stop this from ever, coming forward as the new rails of the new rails of the financial system? No. They just had to make sure that they were covered. Now, a small community bank in Iowa or Kentucky, across the great flyover states of this country, are they ready to innovate? Are they ready to move forward? They need the Clarity Act, right? They're not investment bank JP Morgan that can deploy a whole team to AI, a whole team to blockchain, can deploy billions of capital behind the research and development and the innovation labs that take to build this out. But community bank in Des Moines, Iowa, the community bank in Kentucky, well, instead of fighting this so hard, we encourage them to just partner up with Ripple. Just go partner up with those who have spearheaded the innovation, have shown how to use these technologies, and they've done so for over a decade. Plenty of track record, plenty of testing, and the service to your clients is ultimately what you should be trying to capture and to make sure that you provide, because if you don't provide it, somebody will, whether that's the big investment banks or whether that's Ripple, right? Or any of the other crypto companies that are ready to provide the solutions and ready to provide the service that we all want, which is sending money as easy and as cheap as email is today. That's what the Internet of Value is all about. Now, Cassie Craddock, she's going to expand on this exact point. Ripple today just received its complete crypto asset service provider license, making the company fully compliant with the EU's MiCA rules. When we spoke to Cassie Craddock, Ripple's VP Managing Director of UK and Europe last year, she said, quote, "The main reason we're seeing this adoption really happening now is regulatory clarity. It's providing the banks and the largest financial institutions in the world the incentive and the ability to really lean into offering this to their customers. MiCA here in Europe has really kickstarted that momentum, and what we've seen is banks almost racing on a regional basis to launch a digital asset offering to their customers because their customers are demanding it. Now, with the full crypto asset service provider authorization, Ripple can offer its regulated crypto payments product to financial institutions, corporates, and businesses all across 30 countries in the European Economic Area. So whether it is helping small community bank in Kentucky to issue tokenized deposits, or whether it's the biggest central banks in the world trying to issue a CBDC, right? Ripple is there to hold the hand of the small institution, of the biggest institutions in the world. And they've captured license now across all jurisdictions that matter. We are just now waiting on the US market unlock, and that's what the Clarity Act will provide. So in case you missed it, this morning, this is July 6, 2026, Ripple just confirmed that they got the full approval, full green light for their crypto asset service provider license in the European Union. So they're good to go in Europe. Now it's time to bring on the United States bank and institutional partners that have been waiting to use this technology as well. Now, this brings us to the virtuous cycle. And the adoption that we've seen outside of America has been tremendous. Now the US market unlocks, and this adds to the flywheel that's already rotating, that's already moving, the motion and momentum that we already have. Right? We got a fire cooking, and we're about to dump a lot of fuel on it. Let's run this clip right here, which shout out to DAI for grabbing this clip right here on the David Goldstein show. I probably just butchered his name. Sorry, David. I know David is in XRP too. I've seen him pop up in the past. But he's interviewing Charles Hoskinson, who speaks directly to why XRP and Ripple is seeing this institutional adoption and why they're seeing the growth and why we're in the top 10 and have been for over the past decade. You can't get XRP out of the top 10 cryptos.
So I think that's the fundamental issue. The other thing is there's a bifurcation in the industry right now. The bifurcation is Web 2.5 versus Web 3. So Web 2.5 is you got a regulated business, licenses, and some form of corporation, CEO, federation in the real world. Then Web 3, you got a crypto product. You put them together, you got Web 2.5. So Tether is an example of that. Circle is an example of that. OUSD is an example of that. Ripple is an example of that. BNB is an example of that. Why does everybody get so tickled about XRP? Well, because they're like, well, Brad and the other gang, they just bought a prime broker and they just did this and we just did, well, that's a centralized company, right? But they know that that company is going to use the XRP ledger. And so they're going to kind of create this virtuous cycle here. So the efforts of one actor is kind of driving the value proposition of the thing. And that's Web 2.5. There's nothing wrong with it. I've been fighting it. I mean, I've thrown in that towel a long time ago. And that's where all the growth is. If you look at CoinMarketCap, XRP, BNB, Circle, Tether, look at where they sit. That's where the growth is right now. So Canton is another example of that. It's a club, and they're building that out. OUSD is a club. So they build these clubs, and so that's going to have a lot of growth in the next few years, and they're going to bring billions of people in. But that growth will leak into the Web3 markets if the bridging is right.
Yeah, and it is coming. He just confirmed what the XRP adults in the room already knew, the XRP Virtuous cycle, going to bring billions of people in. XRP is designed for billions. And it's designed for the AI agentic economy as well too, which is where this heads. And like Charles was talking about, we've seen the most success in ecosystems that have that main company that can be fully compliant, fully regulated, kind of a Web 2 business, right? Web 2.5, he says. But they have all of the access to Web 3. They have all of the access to decentralized open source ledgers, and they know how to use them, right? This is why Ripple won't leave the top 10 crypto market cap, right? This is why Tether's up there, right? This is why Circle's up there, is you have these companies that are spearheading the development in the ecosystem, and it's because they are fully regulated and have been working with the traditional rails, right, to introduce this new system. And this is where we get into that virtuous cycle. That flywheel's already started. Before I show you what the virtuous cycle is, though, this is why I work with iTrust Capital, right? Because this is that, Web 2.5 Charles Hoskinson just talked about, where iTrust Capital knows all about crypto, but they also are allowing you to invest in precious metals, and they're adding stocks and ETFs as well here too. But they're bringing out products, and they're giving you the ability to stake your Ethereum, stake your Solana. Here soon, you'll be able to earn yield on your XRP, right? but they allow you to kind of take advantage of Web3 decentralized offerings and what crypto brings to the table in a regulated way, and in a way where if you don't want to do it all yourself, you don't want to do self-custody, you don't want to do the DeFi to figure out how to get yield, right? They allow you to do so within their platform. And right now they're running the $100 funding bonus special. So when you use my link down below as a new client to iTrust Capital, you get your account funded. You will get an extra $100 after you go through that. And they have 3 different products, the IRA, the premium custody, and the treasury. But I'm tired of hearing about our community losing XRP, losing crypto. That's the solution that we're talking about. And this is where firms have been so successful, just like with Ripple, where you're in the new technology, you're in Web3, but you also understand how to keep it compliant, how to kind of work within the existing system to bring those offerings to the table now. And that's why we work with iTrust Capital. We have them linked up down below. But the talk here and DAI bringing up the virtuous cycle reminded me of a great thread that our friend Molly Elmore did just a couple years ago. And so shout out to Molly. I apologize. She now is Molly Marlowe, right? Her maiden name. Shout out to Molly. Hope she's doing well. I haven't spoken to her in a while, but saw her at the Swell conference in New York City. Ripple Swell. That was a good time. Got to have a good time. But we were talking about the adoption and what's coming for XRP here. And now you're finally starting to see us hit that moment. She says, once XRP crosses a threshold in adoption for payments, growth will accelerate rapidly. Why? Due to the virtuous cycle flywheel phenomenon. A thread on the virtuous cycle and how it relates to the future value of XRP. So XRP is a utility asset, which means it can function in 2 different roles. It can serve as a currency to enable transfers of value, payments, and it can serve as a store of value. XRP adoption within the banking sector was held back for reasons every XRP holder knows well. Thanks a lot, SEC. However, the day will come when the shackles are released and the asset is free to serve in its intended purpose. That's right now. That day is today. That is happening right now. As we've already defeated the SEC and now we wait for the Clarity Act to pass to unlock all of the capabilities and potential of the XRP ledger. Initially, that will be as a payments currency within the banking sector. But as adoption grows, it will become clear to other industries that using blockchain assets for payments is more efficient than the current system. New use cases will begin to emerge that leverage the cost and time savings in digital asset payments. This is known as Javon's paradox. As more and more new users enter the marketplace, the utility of XRP gains momentum and the price increases. How about AI, the AI economy, AI agents, right? We're not talking about just more people coming. We're talking about more AI agents transacting, right? All of this on top of the additional utility that's being brought to the XRP ledger as we add programmability without smart contracts, right? XRP DeFi, XRP lending, the AMM liquidity pools. This is all opening up right now. Batch transactions is up for vote again too, right? All of this use cases and utility on top of the payments utility that we already had is arriving on the scene. As more and more new users enter the marketplace, the utility of XRP gains momentum and the price increases. You're about to see a price explosion for XRP, make no mistake about it. Consequently, market participants will see the rising price as a signal that XRP is a good store of value. Got to store your wealth somewhere. Why not in a growing asset that is steadily increasing in adoption and price? When more people and institutions increase their holdings of XRP by storing wealth in the asset, they will remove it from circulating supply available for transactions. The increasing scarcity drives up the price further as less XRP is available in the marketplace. This becomes a repeating flywheel that builds upon itself via the compound effect and is known as the virtuous cycle. As the flywheel goes around and around, it picks up momentum and accelerates. This is similar to Moore's law that explains how continuously decreasing costs and technology lead to exponential increases in adoption. In other words, growth does not happen at a steady rate. It accelerates, gaining speed through each phase of the cycle. At some point, the adoption will approach singularity. This futuristic concept describes how advanced AI technology will eventually surpass human intelligence. Concerns about Skynet aside, the cool applications for singularity are limitless. Note This thread was put out in January of 2023. Think of how far we've advanced in the AI conversation since January of 2023. From hypothetical speculation, oh, we might be able to do a couple of these things, AI agents in 2 years. Now we're talking about AI being at a point already where we might just blow everything up with AI, right? I mean, the acceleration of AI and AI-specific use cases for blockchain just in the past 2 years has grown tremendously since Molly put out this thread. And this is why I'm friends with smart people like Molly, with other folks who see where this is going. You apply time-tested, proven, philosophies and understanding to the current technology, and this helps you become a successful investor in the new world. XRP adoption fits into that model of the future. A future point exists where the uses of the asset will replace labor-intensive industries, archaic systems, and even some advanced human decision-making. This was crazy even 2 years ago. Molly was on the crazy talk. She ain't sounding so crazy anymore, is she? Right? And the value of XRP, that price explosion for XRP, you better believe it's coming. The value of XRP will follow this trajectory as the need for transactions and store of value work as competing market forces driving up the price. The virtuous cycle runs over and over, lather, rinse, and repeat. And if you found this thread insightful, you should definitely follow Molly, and I would encourage everybody to do so. But what we're talking about right here with Clarity Act unlocks another part to push that flywheel forward, right? And this will bring a lot of momentum. This is a big push, right? Brad Garlinghouse has been talking about how they've been flipping switches. They've been tiny ones, right? Thailand, Japan, Korea, basically the largest provider in Africa, the largest provider in Latin America. I joke and say that these are small little switches. They're actually pretty big, right? And it's all adding to that flywheel. It's all adding to that momentum. That virtuous cycle is already underway for XRP. And I'm telling you right now that the Clarity Act is going to be dumping gasoline on the fire for what we already got cooking. And that's why we remain so bullish on XRP. You can see what's happening. You can see that undercurrent. The tsunami of liquidity is coming back into this asset, right? The water's been retreating. Okay, the tidal wave's about to come in, and when the tide's going out, when it's retreating, that's when we like to step in and prepare. That's when we like to buy as much as we possibly can before that tsunami of liquidity comes back into this asset. So, I hope you guys understand what we're on the brink of. We're on the brink of the biggest unlock for cryptocurrency yet, which is the US market unlock, which is the biggest capital market in the world coming on chain. The settlement of the largest capitals market in the world, which is equivalent of almost 4 quadrillion per year. We're probably on pace for 5 quadrillion per year in settlement. That's coming on chain. Swift moving a couple quadrillion themselves per year. That's coming on chain. It's all coming on chain. And just like Brad Garlinghouse said, they settled 16 trillion last year, and almost none of it was on blockchain. Is that because they've abandoned XRP and they're never going to bring it onto the XRP ledger? Wrong. No, it's because they haven't been able to yet. That's what the US market unlock brings. That's what the Clarity Act provides. And that's what pushes our flywheel and our virtuous cycle a lot faster. You want to talk about high prices for XRP? Here you have it, folks. I'll let you guys fill out how high we're going to go this next cycle, but it's going to be a fun ride. I hope that you guys have joined us. If you haven't already, please like this video, share it out far and wide, and make sure you've subscribed and hit that notification bell if you're new here. All the rest of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. Thank you, and God bless you all.